You're watching News at Prime. Let's take you back now to one of our leading stories. The ANC Veterans League wants President Cyril Ramaphosa to make public the outcomes of his meeting with embattled Justice Minister Thembi Simelane. She allegedly received a loan of over R500,000 in illicit transactions from the now-defunct VBS Mutual Bank. Now, the depositors lost billions in savings due to looting at the Limpopo-based institution, with a number of high-profile politicians allegedly implicated. Let's speak now to the ANC's head of elections, and he doubles up as the ANC's chief whip in Parliament, Mdumiseni Ntuli, who joins us now to talk about these matters. Mr. Ntuli, good evening to you and thank you for your time. Let's start with that call from the Veterans League, who are suggesting that the details of the meeting between the minister and the president be made public. Is that a reasonable call from the Veterans League?
Well, good evening, Xoli, and good evening to the viewers at home. I would imagine that as you know, the ministers are accountable to the president, but equally accountable to Parliament through Portfolio Committee and directly to Parliament. So I think all of us at the moment should be satisfied with the fact that the president has had a discussion with Minister Thembi Simelane, and that discussion at an appropriate time, or whatever the president's view, having reflected on the matter, would be shared by the president, I would believe, with his own party, but equally with the people of South Africa. So the fact that the president has taken an initiative is indicative of the fact that the president is concerned about the report that is going around, and therefore he needed to inform himself directly from the minister about what had happened and what is currently happening in the public domain. Yeah.
You and I don't have the luxury of time, Mr. Ntuli, so I'm going to be quite quick in the number of issues I want to deal with. Was there ever a clause within the statement of intent of the GNU about how to deal with ministers who find themselves in trouble, such as the Minister of Justice, and there are reports that the Minister of Agriculture is allegedly appointing his quote-unquote buddies in the office that he is heading up. Is there a clause that deals with such in the GNU document?
No, Claude. We did not have a clause that has to do with how to discipline members of the executive, including members of Parliament for that matter, because our own view has been that the members of the executive are appointed by the President of the Republic of South Africa. And as I said earlier on, the President is perfectly capable of ensuring that he leads a team of men and women who are beyond reproach, and where there are challenges, he has the capacity to respond effectively to those challenges.
Well, you will appreciate the suspicion and perhaps the fact that the ANC today sits below the 50% mark, and that is why we are in a GNU situation. The party that says, or that prides itself as wanting to hold the executive to account in Parliament, I'm talking about Action SA, they're saying we can't simply rely on the president to be honest, or perhaps the word to use is transparent with the public, because he himself still has the pala matters hanging over his head, and therefore, how do you trust such a person? So again, I go back to the Veterans League, because I guess their worry and their main reason for existence, and you will know this as an ANC member, is that they are there to preserve the image of the party, the ANC, which is limping right now. So shouldn't you just be honest and say the minister did wrong here, it's perhaps time to let her go and allow another person to come in, especially in this department, this crucial department?
Well, Xoli, I don't think it can be an easy matter like that because, for instance, as a chief whip of the ANC and as parliament, we have not had an opportunity that the president has had to interact with the minister beyond what is reported in the media, social media, and everywhere else. But to really interact with the minister and get her own side of the story about what had happened and how she's handling the revelations that are currently in the public domain. So I think it really be ill-informed, and not appropriate to say, because Action XA, as they are saying, they do not have a complete faith on the president. Therefore, the president is not capable of handling the matter. The president appointed these ministers. And I understand the concern of the ANC Veterans League because as veterans of our movement, first and foremost, they are supposed to be seen by our society as the primary custodian of the value system of our movement. And so for them to be uncomfortable that they have not been taken into confidence about what is happening, I think it's a matter that we should accept it in that spirit. But I have full confidence in the work that the president is doing in dealing with the matters that are affecting Minister Simelane and Minister Thembi. And of course, as you would have known, the Portfolio Committee and the study group of the ANC had expressed concerns around the manner in which Thembi in particular had conducted himself in public in relation to what he has found in the department and what he communicated, which was essentially inconsistent with the objective reality, as was also indicated by the former minister who's currently the speaker. But all of those matters, I'm quite certain that President Ramaphosa has what it takes to ensure that he go deeper, to look beyond what me and you can see through the headlines, and come to conclusions that are in the best interest of our country.
Very quickly, on the one hand, Minister Simelane does not deny taking this money from a broker who was the very person responsible for advising the municipality to illegally invest monies into VBS. So she doesn't deny that she took monies. What she's unable to prove is whether these monies were paid back and whether this indeed was a transaction that was above board in terms of the laws of this country. But second to that, something interesting you've said about the Steenhuisen matter, when you say that he communicated matters that are inconsistent with what he found in the department, what exactly are you referring to?
Well, I'm referring, Xoli, I'm referring essentially to something that has to do with 500 million rand, which is a matter that had been thoroughly investigated. Something that happened in 2014 was investigated. A series of reports were produced around that matter, and still some work is happening within government in terms of following certain links emanating from what had happened with that amount of 500 million rand. But the way in which he communicated it in public, for instance, was as though this is a new discovery by a new minister, and for that matter, was coming from the Democratic Alliance, discovering corruption that has taken place, which the ANC ministers over the past decade have not responded to. And that is the only issue that made the study group of the ANC to say, but we know, you know that what we are saying is not really consistent with the objective reality in the department. And I think that matter has somehow been settled because I was informed that the minister acceded to the fact that his public messaging on the matter was not really accurate and in line with what is happening on the matter in question.
Yeah. On the Simelane matter, do you not agree? Do you not agree that there is a conflict of interest that is actually quite dangerous, given the position she holds and the oversight role she plays over the prosecuting authority that is prosecuting the very matter of VBS?
Well, the difference in this case, and I will explain it in less than a minute, is that the matter that I was commenting about relating to 500 million rand has served before a portfolio committee of Parliament, and the study group of the ANC naturally will have an opportunity to reflect on that matter before and after the portfolio committee. The Simelane question, except what is reported in public, has not been ventilated through processes in Parliament, and the meeting that she has had with the president, as you said earlier on, has not been made public. So really to come to a definite conclusion about the meaning of the alleged conduct of Minister Simelane, in my own view, would be premature unless one is fully versed and informed about the details of what had happened and how, in the context of what has happened, she is able to articulate her own position, and we can all make a judgment, which is informed because we have a balanced perspective about what had happened, as opposed to relying on the headlines and the report that is going on, which is not always accurate. That which comes in the media in the form of reports is always going to come to the same kind of a conclusion when it is properly interrogated. That is my issue about it. It's not necessarily to say the minister is right or wrong. I have not had an opportunity as well to be exposed really to details around what had happened.
Quick one, Mr. Ntuli. The Secretary of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, Bheki Mtolo, he's been ordered to apologize by the Secretary General to the union NEHAW. Add to that the developments that the ANC has since put together a task team to revive the weak branches of the ANC in KZN. Is the KZN secretary fit to hold that office, you think?
Well, I'm very happy that, as it has been reported earlier today, and I listened to the interview of the SG, that the discussion has taken place between our provincial leadership in KZN, particularly the provincial secretary and the NEHAW. Because obviously what had happened, what was going on in public, and the subsequent event about litigations were not really putting the movement into the good position. So I'm very happy that that discussion is taking place and the matter has been settled amicably. I wouldn't really want to be drawn into the conclusion about whether or not what has happened, therefore, it suffices for anybody to make a judgment about the suitability of the ANC provincial secretary. I think what we should be comfortable with is that something has happened which was not quite good within the movement, and comrades, as they should do, sat down, discuss the matter, and agreed on the way forward. And I don't think that one would be really in a position to make a judgment that on the basis of that which has happened, therefore this or that other comrade is not fit to lead the organization. I think that may be an unfair judgment to make on the basis of that incident, which has been handled the way that I think the leadership has done correctly.